It's another video on another fly that my buddy Brian and I are developing for the St. Joe River, targeting steelhead and and salmon and such. So it's another design we've kind of come up with. Not sure if it works, but it's in the winter months when we're designing flies. This is another one we've come up with. So I'll show you how I tie it. It's a take on a fly designed by Mr. Kelly Galloup. He calls it the articulated peanut envy. You'll find it's very similar to a woolly booger, his peanut envy, and kind of a hybrid of all. The only difference with Kelly's is he would put a cone head up here, and in place of that, I've got lead wire, and I'll show you how I do that. So let's get started. All right, so to get started, Gatmanzu, is that how you say that? I don't know. Size 4 hook. This is a standard length hook. Obviously, make sure you get that good and secure. And to get started, I've got 020 lead wire. I'm going to put some here at the front. Six. I got 7 wraps there. So I got 7 wraps. Trim those off. Wind them up. Okay, I'm going to make sure that lead is tucked up tight to the front there, because the idea is that this fly, as you're stripping, obviously this marabou will be all wet, and the idea is that it's kind of doing one of these numbers, so that weight helps to make this fly dive. 170 olive UTC. I'm going to start just behind that lead. I'm going to take my thread up over top of the lead, just to kind of get some thread up on there. I do think that this did I say 140? I meant the heavier UTC. I'm going to take it back to just to the barb there. I'll trim this off. Okay, now take some olive marabou, just about to the end of my piece there. So find a piece. Probably something like that. Let's snip that out. Now, it's kind of a tricky part on length. So on those other flies, I'm going just a little bit longer than a hook shank, a full hook shank. So somewhere in there. Tie that in. Now, instead of cutting this, I'm going to run it all the way up, and in doing so, create a body. And just kind of let it do its thing. Marabou's messy, as you know. So I'm going to run it all the way up really to about that, right behind the lead there. So that's where I'm at. Go and trim that out. Get rid of some of this excess. I'm just going to wrap all this in, use that as a body. Some of this stuff that's hanging out, just pull it out. Okay. So some of this other stuff, if you want to be picky about it, you can come here and trim some of this stuff out. Whatever. Be careful when doing that, so you don't get your thread. Next piece, some olive hackle. Don't be afraid to pull a full piece there. I mean, it's your standard hackle, but it's a little on the longer side. This isn't the best stuff. It is what it is, though. I'll pull some from the bottom. I'm gonna snip that off. You can see how I've got it pulled. Okay, so you see how like the feather lays down like that? I'm gonna put that against my fly. And when I tie these in, for me, since I'm going to be wrapping it, I'll start it at like a 45, go all the way up to where those feathers start. Get a few nice wraps in there. I like to go backwards, so I'm going this way against it just for a couple turns, and then I'm going to go forward. Make sure you get that really good and secured in there. I just rotated it in. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the start there. Next up, ice dubbing. And with this, don't be afraid. I'm gonna put a good, healthy amount on there. And so you get that wound on. Of course, with dubbing, it's always better to start a little on the lighter side and add as you go. But yeah, I wanna build this up. So go ahead and get some noodled on, push it up, make some touching wraps. Get a little more, same thing. Okay, we're gonna keep going up pretty much to right about there. So just behind, so I got my lead wire, stops about right there. So this this dubbing stops just before where the lead wire's at. So there's where we're at there. And now I'm gonna take my hackle. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap that against that dubbing, and just let it flare out. Let that stuff flare out. So there's 2 wraps. There's 3 wraps. There's 4. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and tie that off there. So there's 4 wraps on that. Throw a couple more in there just for the fun of it. Okay, next thing, I'm gonna throw some Semper Flash in there, from Semper Fly tying materials. I like this stuff. Kind of got my package trimmed a little goofy, but it works for me. We'll pull out, I don't know, a couple, 3 strands. Yeah, there's 3 strands. Snip those off. So I have Semper Fly This is the Crinkle Olive Brown. So what I like to do, so I get all of 3 of them together, and then find about the halfway point or so. Pull this down. I like to just wrap it around my thread, kind of like that. Tie this in. Just let it hang back. I'm going to trim it. I'm not going to pull it real tight, but I'm going to kind of give it a little bit of tension. I'm going to trim it right where that marabou kind of ends. So as you can see, this is where we're at. Kind of another idea. I may make another one with a soft tackle that's been dyed this fluorescent green. I don't know, it might look kind of cool against it. Maybe just one strand in there. Again, these are, you know, this is just a experimental pattern that Brian and I are working on for the St. Joe River, Dowagiac. Really that section between, really Mishawaka down to, down to like the Berrien Springs area. It's kind of where we target. The Dowagiac here, you know, it's still winter of 2022. The Dowagiac's about to get loaded with some fish. In the springtime, we're pretty stoked about that. So let's see. Here's the last bit of this. And I'm really kind of slim picking here. So I'm looking for another piece that's going to lay on top of that. Okay. So there we go. Cut that out. And I want to make it about the same length, maybe a little bit longer than this back piece of marabou. So we're about right there. So I'm also wanting to use this, what I'm going to tie in as kind of the head to the fly. You know, there's nothing extravagant about this. So yeah, like I said, it's a lot of similarities to a woolly booger. In Kelly's original build, he would have put a cone head up there for weight. I'll put a link to that video in the description. It was actually one that Brian discovered. And I said, hey, you know what? He said, make one of these for me. And I said, I could probably make something like that. So I kind of just put my own spin on it. So I'm going to keep going up to the eye of the hook. I'm going to trim all that out. And I'm just going to tie all this in. I got one of those hackle fibers in there. Trim some of this out. Okay, that's really it. Put a good whip finish on it. Don't mind putting a few extra on some of these bigger flies like this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and one for chesty puller there. Snip that out, and there we go. I don't know what we're going to call this. Who knows if it'll even catch fish. I'm sure it will. This olive seems to be the ticket for the stretch that that we like to run. So again, the idea is you know, long casts with the nice weight on the front. Strip it back. Just kind of cleaning it up here to give it some articulation. Maybe I'll make another one with some dyed soft hackle in here, just for a little variation. But yeah, let me know. What do you think? Keep you updated. Thanks for watching.